The wedding ring made a satisfying clink as I dropped it onto Evelyn Hollis's finest china plate, right between the overpriced asparagus and her shocked expression. 20 years of marriage, and this was how it ended, not with tears or screaming, but with the cold metallic sound of finality echoing through her pretentious dining room. "Grant, what on earth?" Dana started, but I was already pushing back from the mahogany table that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Thanks for the honesty, Evelyn," I said, straightening my tie, the same one Dana had criticized for being too blue-collar just an hour earlier. "I'll be sure to return the favor." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The silence that followed was so thick you could have cut it with one of Evelyn's sterling silver knives. 8 pairs of Hollis family eyes stared at me like I'd just announced I was joining the circus. Maybe I was. I walked out of that mansion without looking back, my work boots echoing on the marble foyer that had always made me feel like an intruder in my own marriage. The October air hit my face like a slap of reality as I reached my pickup truck. Dusty, reliable, and honest. Unlike everything I was leaving behind, that's when I saw the text messages. Dana had left her phone in my truck earlier, claiming her purse was too small for everything. I hadn't meant to look, but the screen lit up with a notification from B just as I was about to drive away. "Can't wait for tonight. Your husband's dinner excuse was perfect. Room 237 at the Riverside Motel, 10 p.m. Wear the red lingerie." My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. 20 years. 20 goddamn years I'd built a construction business from nothing, put up with Evelyn's constant reminders that I wasn't good enough for her daughter, and worked 60-hour weeks to afford the lifestyle Dana demanded. And this was my reward. The phone buzzed again. Another message from B. "Brett here. Your husband looked pathetic tonight. How did you ever settle for such a loser? Can't wait to show you what a real man feels like." Brett. The name hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. Brett Kincaid, the personal trainer at Dana's fancy gym, the guy she'd been raving about for months, always talking about his innovative workout techniques and how he was helping her discover her true potential. Yeah, I bet he was. I scrolled through more messages, each one a knife twist in my chest. Plans for secret meetings, complaints about my lack of ambition, discussions about the new house we were supposed to buy. The one Dana insisted had to be in her name only for tax purposes. "Once we get the house money from Grant, we can start planning our real future together. He's so stupid, he'll never see it coming." The pieces clicked together like a blueprint finally making sense. The expensive lingerie I'd found in her car, the inventory weekends at her boutique that seemed to happen every time I was out of town on construction jobs. The way she'd been pushing so hard for that $800,000 house purchase, insisting on handling all the paperwork herself. I wasn't just being cheated on, I was being robbed. The next morning, I sat in my site office trailer, surrounded by invoices and blueprints, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. Tommy Rodriguez, my foreman for the past 15 years, knocked on the door and stuck his weathered face inside. "Boss, you look like someone ran over your dog. Everything okay?" Tommy was the closest thing I had to a best friend, a straight shooter who'd been with me since I started Merrick Construction. If I was going to tell anyone about this mess, it would be him. "My wife's cheating on me, Tommy, and she's trying to steal everything I've worked for." Tommy's expression shifted from concern to anger in about 2 seconds. "That fancy boutique princess? I always thought she looked at you like you were something she scraped off her shoe. What are you going to do about it?" "I'm going to destroy her," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "Legally, completely, and permanently." "Good," Tommy said, settling into the folding chair across from my desk. "What do you need?" I spent the next hour laying out everything I'd discovered. Tommy listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking his head or muttering under his breath in Spanish, which usually meant he was either very happy or very pissed off. Given the circumstances, I was betting on pissed off. "So what's the plan?" he asked when I finished. "First, I need proof. Real proof, not just text messages. Then I need to protect my assets before she can get her hands on them. And then..." I paused, thinking about Evelyn's words from the night before. Then I'm going to show them what ambition really looks like. I started with the easy stuff. A quick call to my lawyer, Jim Patterson, got the ball rolling on protecting my business assets. Jim had handled my corporate paperwork for years and knew exactly how much Dana's lifestyle cost me. "Grant, I've been waiting for this call for about 5 years," Jim said when I explained the situation. "That woman's been bleeding you dry, and everyone in town knows it except you." Everyone knows? Small town, buddy. People talk. The question is, what do you want to do about it? Everything legal, I said. But I want her to lose everything. The house deal, her job, her reputation, her mother's respect, all of it. That's going to take some planning and some evidence. I'm working on the evidence. The next step was surveillance. I felt ridiculous following my own wife around town like some kind of private detective, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Dana's routine was predictable. Boutique until 6, then either inventory work or gym sessions. That lasted until late evening. I parked across from Elite Fitness on Wednesday night and waited. Sure enough, at 7:30, Dana's BMW pulled into the parking lot. She sat in her car for a few minutes, probably checking her makeup, then walked to the employee entrance like she owned the place. An hour later, I was still waiting when my phone rang. It was Sherry Caldwell, Dana's supposed best friend. "Grant, I think we need to talk." "About what, Sherry?" "About what Dana's been doing behind your back, and about what I've been doing behind hers." We met at Murphy's Diner, a greasy spoon that Dana wouldn't be seen in. Sherry looked nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup and glancing around like she expected Dana to materialize out of thin air. "I've been feeding you information," she said without preamble. "What?" "The phone in your truck. I put it there. I've been watching Dana for months, waiting for someone to finally call her out on her bullshit." I stared at her. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of watching her treat you like garbage while she plays princess. Because I'm sick of listening to her complain about your lack of ambition while you pay for everything she wants. And because Brett Kincaid is a piece of shit who's done this to at least 3 other married women." Sherry reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Photos, text messages, credit card receipts, hotel records, everything you need to bury both of them. I opened the envelope and felt my stomach drop. The photos were explicit, taken through the gym's office window, Dana and Brett in positions that left no doubt about what they were doing. The credit card receipts showed charges at expensive restaurants and hotels, all on days when Dana had told me she was working late. Jesus, Sherry, how long has this been going on? 8 months, maybe longer. She's been planning to leave you once she gets the house money. She and Brett were going to move to California and start over. "We're going to?" Sherry smiled for the first time since I'd sat down. "That was before I decided to blow up their little plan. You're not the only one who can be ambitious, Grant." Thursday morning, I walked into Dana's boutique carrying a bag from her favorite sandwich shop. The place was all mirrors and chrome, designed to make customers feel either fabulous or inadequate, usually inadequate, which encouraged them to buy more. "Grant," Dana looked genuinely surprised to see me. "What are you doing here?" "Brought you lunch, sweetheart. Thought we should talk about the house." Her face lit up like Christmas morning. "Did you sign the papers?" "Not exactly." I handed her the bag. "Open it." Dana reached inside and pulled out a manila envelope instead of a sandwich. Her expression shifted from confusion to horror as she realized what she was looking at. "Smile for the cameras, darling," I said loud enough for her 2 employees and 3 customers to hear. "Though I guess you already did." The red liquid drained from her face as she flipped through the photos. "Grant, I can explain." "No need. The pictures explain everything pretty clearly. So do the hotel receipts and the text messages about stealing my money." "You went through my phone?" "Actually, your best friend Sherry did that for me. Turns out she's not as loyal as you thought." Dana's hands were shaking now. "This isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you've been sleeping with your personal trainer while planning to rob me blind. But hey, maybe I'm misreading the situation." One of her customers, an older woman I recognized from church, gasped and hurried out of the store. The other customers followed quickly. Dana's employees tried to pretend they weren't listening, but in a space that size, privacy was impossible. "Please," Dana whispered. "Can we discuss this at home?" "We don't have a home anymore. I canceled the house purchase this morning. Turns out when you're not planning to put your husband's name on the deed, he doesn't have to sign the final papers." The color that had returned to Dana's face disappeared again. "You can't do that. We have a contract." "You have a contract. I have a lawyer. Guess which one's more useful right now?" I turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Dana, you might want to call Brett. I sent copies of these photos to his boss this morning. Something about inappropriate relationships with clients violating gym policy." The sound of Dana's sobs followed me out to the parking lot, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, no regret, just cold, calculating fury and the knowledge that I was just getting started. My phone rang as I drove back to the construction site. It was Jim Patterson. "The house deal's officially over," he reported. And I've moved all your business assets into a protected LLC. She can't touch them now, even in a divorce. What about our joint accounts? Frozen pending litigation. She's got access to about $500 in her personal checking account. Everything else requires both signatures or a court order. How long before she figures that out? Probably when she tries to buy groceries tonight. That evening, I sat in my truck outside Elite Fitness, waiting. I didn't have to wait long. Brett Kincaid came storming out of the building at exactly 6:15, his face red with anger. He spotted my truck and marched over, all muscle and misplaced confidence. "You snake!" he shouted, pounding on my window. "You cost me my job." I rolled the window down slowly. "Actually, you cost yourself your job when you decided to screw married clients. I just provided the documentation. Get out of that truck and face me like a man." "Why? So you can show me those innovative workout techniques Dana's been bragging about?" I smiled. "Thanks, but I've seen the photos. I'm not impressed." Brett's face went from red to purple. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, your wife thinks you're a pathetic loser, and so do I." "My wife thinks a lot of things. She thought she could steal my money and run off with you to California. She thought her best friend was loyal. She thought I was too stupid to figure out what she was doing." I leaned closer to the window. "She was wrong about all of it, just like you're wrong if you think I'm going to let either of you walk away from this." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you picked the wrong man's wife to sleep with, Brett. And now you're going to find out what happens when someone with actual ambition decides to destroy you." I rolled up the window and drove away, leaving him standing in the parking lot like the over-muscled idiot he was. In my rearview mirror, I could see him kicking at the gravel in frustration. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. "We need to talk. Please come home." I texted back, "I am home. You need to find somewhere else to stay." "You can't kick me out of my own house." "Actually, I can. Check the deed, check the mortgage, check the utilities. Everything's in my name, sweetheart. You've been living in my house for 20 years. I'll call the police. Go ahead. While you're at it, ask them about the fraud charges I'm filing tomorrow. Turns out trying to steal your husband's money for your boyfriend is illegal. Who knew?" She didn't text back. Friday morning brought unexpected visitors to my construction site. I was reviewing blueprints in my trailer when Tommy knocked on the door. "Boss, you got company, and they don't look happy." Through the window, I could see Dana's BMW parked next to a silver Mercedes I recognized as belonging to her mother. Evelyn Hollis stood beside Dana, both of them looking like they were preparing for battle. "This should be interesting," I muttered, stepping outside. "Grant," Dana called out, hurrying toward me. "Thank God you're here. We need to fix this misunderstanding." "What misunderstanding would that be? The part where you cheated on me, or the part where you tried to steal my money?" Evelyn stepped forward, her face set in the same disapproving expression she'd worn for 20 years. "Now see here, Grant. I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but this has gone far enough." "Game?" I laughed. "Evelyn, your daughter has been screwing her personal trainer for 8 months while planning to rob me blind. The only game here is the one she's been playing with my life." "That's not true," Dana protested. "It was just, we were having problems, and Brett was helping me work through them." "Yeah, I saw the photos of him helping you work through them. Very thorough assistance." Evelyn's face flushed. "You have no proof of any wrongdoing, and even if you did, Dana is still your wife. You owe her—" "I don't owe her shit," I interrupted. "But she owes me about 20 years of lies, manipulation, and theft, plus interest." "You can't just throw away 20 years of marriage over a misunderstanding," Dana pleaded. "I made a mistake, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling." "Counseling?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Dana, you were planning to steal my money and run off to California with your boyfriend. That's not a marriage problem. That's a criminal conspiracy." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Explain to me how planning to put an $800,000 house in your name only using my money, while secretly planning to leave me, wasn't exactly like that." Dana looked at her mother for support, but Evelyn was staring at me with something that might have been respect for the first time in 2 decades. "How much do you know?" Evelyn asked quietly. "Everything. Hotel receipts, text messages, photos, financial records, all of it. Your daughter's not as smart as she thinks she is." "And what do you want?" "I want her gone. Out of my house, out of my life, and out of my bank account. I want a divorce that leaves her with exactly what she brought to this marriage, nothing." "You can't do that," Dana said desperately. "I have rights. I'm entitled to half of everything." "You're entitled to half of what we built together. But since you've been planning to steal it all, I'd say you forfeited those rights." Evelyn studied me for a long moment. "You've changed, Grant. 20 years ago, you would have forgiven her and tried to make it work. 20 years ago, I was young and stupid and thought love could fix everything. Now I know better. What about Brett? Dana asked suddenly. What did you do to him? Nothing illegal. I just made sure his boss knew about his extracurricular activities with married clients. Turns out that's against company policy. Who would have thought? He lost his job because of you. He lost his job because of his own actions. Just like you're going to lose everything because of yours. Tommy appeared at my elbow, holding a clipboard. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but we got that inspection at 2. You need to sign these permits. I took the clipboard and signed the papers, aware that both women were watching me. It occurred to me that this might be the first time Evelyn had ever seen me actually working, actually being competent at something. How's business, Grant? Evelyn asked unexpectedly. Good. Better than good, actually. We just landed the contract for the new shopping center downtown. $3 million project. $3 million? Dana stared at me. You didn't tell me about that. I stopped telling you about my business when I realized you were planning to steal it. Evelyn nodded slowly. I think I misjudged you, Grant. I always thought you lacked ambition. No, Evelyn. I just lacked the dangerous instinct. But your daughter fixed that problem for me. Word travels fast in a small town, especially when it involves affair, money, and betrayal. By Monday morning, half the town knew about Dana's affair and the failed house deal. By Tuesday, everyone knew. I was having coffee at Murphy's Diner when Detective Ray Lavoie slid into the booth across from me. Ray and I had gone to high school together, back when the world seemed simpler. Heard you're having some domestic troubles, Grant. Nothing I can't handle. That's what I figured. But I also heard there might be some financial irregularities involved. Thought you should know that someone filed a complaint about possible fraud. I looked up from my coffee. Someone? Anonymous tip. Said there was evidence of attempted theft and conspiracy. Mentioned something about forged documents and planned asset transfer. Huh? That's interesting. Ray smiled. Yeah, I thought so too. Of course, we'd need actual evidence to pursue anything like that. Documents, recordings, witness statements, that sort of thing. Hypothetically speaking, if someone had that kind of evidence, what would happen? Hypothetically, fraud charges, possible conspiracy charges, maybe some civil liability, could get expensive for everyone involved. Good to know. Ray stood up to leave, then paused. Grant? For what it's worth, most people in town think you're handling this exactly right. Dana's been acting like she was too good for the rest of us for years. Maybe it's time she learned different. That afternoon, I got a call from the owner of Dana's boutique, Margaret Westfield. Margaret was old school money, the kind of woman who valued reputation above everything else. Grant, I think we need to discuss your wife's employment situation. What about it? Several of my customers have expressed concern about the incident that occurred in my store last week, and I've received some disturbing photographs via email. Anonymous email? Very anonymous, but very detailed. I can't have this kind of scandal associated with my business. I'm sure you understand. Completely. Dana's employment will be terminated at the end of the week. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I appreciate that, Margaret. Grant, I've known you since you were a boy working construction summers to pay for college. You're a good man, and you deserve better than this. Thank you. That evening, Dana called me for the first time since our confrontation at the construction site. Grant, please, we need to talk? Talk. Not over the phone. Can I come over? To my house? No. It's my house, too. Actually, it's not. Check the deed, check the mortgage payments, check the utility bills. Your name isn't on any of them. That's not fair. You contributed criticism and spending. That's not the same thing. Please, Grant, I'm staying at a motel. I can't afford anything else. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to cheat on me. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices over 8 months. This is just the consequence. What about Brett? What about him? He's not handling this well. He blames you for ruining his life? Good. He should blame me. I did ruin his life, just like he tried to ruin mine. He's talking about doing something. Like what? I don't know. He's angry, and he's been drinking, and he keeps saying you're going to pay for what you did to him. Let him come. I'm not hard to find. Grant, please. I know you hate me right now, but Brett's not stable. He could hurt you. Dana, I've been swinging hammers and operating heavy machinery for 25 years. I'm not afraid of some over-muscled pretty boy with anger management issues. This isn't a joke. You're right. It's not a joke. It's justice. You both chose the wrong person to mess with, and now you're dealing with the consequences. If Brett wants to make this worse for himself, that's his choice. I hung up and sat in my kitchen, looking around at the house I'd bought and paid for and maintained for 2 decades. It felt different now, cleaner somehow, like a weight had been lifted. My phone buzzed with a text from Sherry. Brett's been asking around about where you live. Thought you should know. I texted back, thanks for the heads up. Want me to call the police? Not yet, but keep your phone handy. I walked to my bedroom closet and pulled out the baseball bat I'd kept since high school. Louisville Slugger, Ashwood, perfectly balanced. I'd used it to win the state championship my senior year. If Brett wanted to play games, I was ready. Brett showed up at my house on Thursday night, just as I was finishing dinner. I heard his truck in the driveway, loud exhaust, compensating for something, and watched through the window as he sat there for several minutes, probably working up his courage. When he finally got out, I could see he'd been drinking. He walked with the careful precision of someone trying to hide their intoxication, but the slight sway gave him away. I opened the front door before he could knock. Brett, I was wondering when you'd show up. We need to talk. His words were slightly slurred, but his eyes were clear and angry. About what? About what you did to me, to Dana, to our future. Your future? I laughed. Your future was built on stealing my money and destroying my marriage. That's not much of a foundation. You don't understand what we had. I understand exactly what you had. I've seen the photos, remember? Brett's face flushed red. You had no right. I had every right. She's my wife. Was my wife. And you're just some piece of shit who thought he could take what belonged to me. Dana doesn't belong to you. You're right, she doesn't, but my money does. And my house does, and my business does, and you're not getting any of it. Brett stepped closer, his hands clenched into fists. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you won? I know I won. Dana loved me. Dana loved my bank account. If she loved you, she would have divorced me first instead of trying to steal everything I've worked for. You don't know what you're talking about. I know she's broke. I know she lost her job. I know she's staying at the Riverside Motel, the same place you two used to meet. How's that working out for you? Brett's composure finally cracked. You bastard! You destroyed everything. No, Brett. You destroyed everything when you decided to sleep with another man's wife. I just made sure you paid for it. He swung at me then, a wild, drunken haymaker that I saw coming from a mile away. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me, then grabbed him by the back of his shirt and helped him along into my front yard. That's assault, Brett. I could call the police right now. He spun around, breathing hard. Call them. I don't care anymore. You've taken everything from me. I didn't take anything from you. You never had anything to begin with. You were just a temporary distraction for a bored housewife with expensive taste. That's not true, isn't it? Where is she now, Brett? Why isn't she here with you, fighting for your great love? His face crumpled slightly, and I knew I'd hit the target. She's dealing with a lot right now. She's dealing with reality. The reality that her meal ticket is gone and all she's left with is you. And you're unemployed, broke, and apparently drunk at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. Shut up. How's that working out for her? How's that working out for you? Shut up, he charged me again, this time with more coordination. I sidestepped and stuck out my foot, sending him sprawling across my lawn. He rolled over and glared up at me, grass stains on his shirt and dirt in his hair. You want to know the truth, Brett? Dana called me 3 days ago. She wanted to come home. She wanted to work things out and go to counseling. She's already trying to figure out her next move, and it doesn't include you. You're lying. Am I? Check your phone. When's the last time she called you? When's the last time she answered when you called her? Brett's expression told me I was right. She used you, Brett, just like she used me. The difference is, I figured it out in time to protect myself. You just got thrown away when you stopped being useful. He struggled to his feet, swaying slightly. This isn't over. Yes, it is. It's been over since the moment you decided to mess with my life. The only question now is whether you're smart enough to walk away or stupid enough to make things worse for yourself. What's that supposed to mean? It means I have photos of you trespassing on my property tonight. I have witnesses who saw you assault me. I have evidence of your affair with my wife and your role in her attempt to defraud me. You want to keep playing games, or do you want to cut your losses and disappear? Brett stared at me for a long moment, and I could see him trying to process everything through the alcohol and anger. I loved her, he said quietly. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of her. You loved the excitement of the affair and the fantasy of running away together with someone else's money. But you didn't love Dana. If you had, you would have told her to leave me honestly instead of helping her try to steal from me. He didn't have an answer for that. Go home, Brett. Sober up, find another job, and stay away from married women. This is your one warning. He walked back to his truck without another word, stumbling slightly but managing to stay upright. I watched him drive away, noting that he was going slowly and staying in his lane. At least he wasn't completely stupid. My phone rang as I was locking the front door. It was Dana. Was Brett just at your house? How did you know? He called me. He was crying and saying goodbye and talking about how everything was ruined. Grant, I'm scared he might hurt himself. That's not my problem anymore. Please, I know you hate me, but Brett's not thinking clearly. He's been drinking and talking about how there's nothing left for him. There isn't anything left for him. He destroyed his own life. You destroyed his life. No, Dana. He destroyed his life when he decided to help you cheat and steal. I just made sure he faced the consequences. You could have handled this differently. How? By letting you rob me blind and run off with your boyfriend? By pretending I didn't know what was happening? By being the understanding husband who forgives and forgets? You could have talked to me first, before you destroyed everything. I tried talking to you for 20 years. You made it clear that I wasn't good enough, that I lacked ambition, that I was holding you back. So I decided to show you what real ambition looks like. This isn't ambition. This is revenge. You're right. It's both. There was a long pause. When Dana spoke again, her voice was small and defeated. What happens now? Now you figure out how to live with the choices you made, just like I'm learning to live with mine. Grant, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. Sorry you got caught? Or sorry you did it? Both. It's too late for sorry, Dana. It was too late the moment you decided Brett was more important than our marriage. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. And now it's over. I hung up and turned off my phone. Whatever happened to Brett now was between him and his own conscience. I'd given him a chance to walk away with his dignity intact. If he chose to throw that away too, that was his decision. The divorce was finalized on a cold Tuesday morning in February. Dana got exactly what she'd brought to the marriage 20 years earlier, nothing. The judge had been unimpressed with her lawyer's arguments about contributing to the household and emotional distress, especially after reviewing the evidence of her affair and attempted fraud. I kept the house, the business, and all the assets I'd accumulated through 2 decades of hard work. Dana got her clothes, her car, which was in her name, and a court order to stay away from me. Brett had left town 3 weeks after our confrontation, apparently deciding that a fresh start somewhere else was preferable to facing the consequences of his actions every day in a small town where everyone knew what he'd done. I was sitting in Murphy's Diner on a Saturday morning, reading the paper and enjoying the kind of peaceful breakfast I hadn't had in years, when Sherry slid into the booth across from me. You look good, Grant. Relaxed. I feel good. Turns out life's a lot simpler when you're not married to someone who's actively trying to destroy you. Any regrets? I thought about it for a moment. About the marriage ending? No. About wasting 20 years on someone who never respected me? Yeah, I regret that. But I can't change it, so I'm focusing on what comes next. And what comes next? Whatever I want. For the first time in 20 years, I get to make decisions based on what I want, not what someone else thinks I should want. Sherry smiled. Dana called me last week. How's she doing? About as well as you'd expect. She's working at a department store in the next town over, living in a studio apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda. She asked me to ask you if there was any chance of reconciliation. What did you tell her? I told her that ship had sailed, caught fire, and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. I laughed. That's about right. She also wanted me to tell you that she's learned her lesson, and she's a different person now. Good for her, but she's still not my problem anymore. That's what I figured you'd say. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the Saturday morning crowd filter in and out of the diner. Normal people living normal lives, dealing with normal problems. It felt good to be one of them again. Grant, Sherry said finally, you know what the best part of all this is? What's that? Evelyn Hollis has been telling everyone at the country club that she always knew you had more backbone than people gave you credit for. She's actually bragging about how well you handled the whole situation. I nearly choked on my coffee. Evelyn's bragging about me? Apparently she respects people who fight back when they're wronged. Who knew? Well, I'll be damned. She also said that if Dana had been smart enough to appreciate what she had instead of always looking for something better, none of this would have happened. Evelyn said that? Word for word. I think you might have finally earned her approval. I shook my head in amazement. 20 years too late, but I'll take it. Tommy appeared at the table, still in his work clothes, despite it being Saturday. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but we got a problem at the shopping center site. Nothing major, but I need you to take a look at something. I stood up and threw money on the table for my breakfast. Business calls. On Saturday? Sherry asked. Success doesn't take weekends off, I said, then paused. You know what? Dana was right about one thing. I do have ambition. I just finally learned how to use it properly. As I walked out of the diner toward my truck, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete satisfaction with my life. No nagging voice telling me I wasn't good enough. No constant criticism about my clothes, my manners, my lack of sophistication. No secret schemes working against me behind my back. Just me, my work, and a future that belonged entirely to me. For the first time in 20 years, I was exactly where I wanted to be. The construction site was busy despite the weekend, crews working overtime to meet our timeline. I walked through the partially completed shopping center, checking progress and talking with the workers. This was my element, concrete and steel, honest work producing tangible results. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. You think you won, but this isn't over. You destroyed my life, and I'm going to destroy yours. Brett, still making threats from whatever hole he'd crawled into. I showed the text to Tommy. What do you think? Tommy read it and shrugged. I think he's a coward who's trying to scare you because he can't face the fact that he screwed up his own life. Should I be worried? About him? Nah, guys like that are all talk. Besides, what's he gonna do? Come back here where everyone knows what he did? Try to mess with a successful businessman who has friends and resources? He's not that stupid. Tommy was right. Brett's threat was the desperate gesture of a man who'd lost everything and was looking for someone else to blame. He'd had his chance to walk away with some dignity intact, and he'd blown it. Now he was just another cautionary tale about what happens when you try to take what doesn't belong to you. I deleted the text and put my phone away. Brett Kincaid was my past. This construction site, this business, this life I was building for myself, that was my future. And unlike my marriage, this future was built on a foundation that couldn't be shaken by lies, betrayal, or false promises. As I watched my crew's work, I thought about Evelyn's words from that dinner months ago. Our daughter won't tolerate a loser like you. She'd been wrong about Dana not tolerating me. Dana had been perfectly happy to tolerate me as long as I was paying her bills and funding her lifestyle. What she couldn't tolerate was the idea of being satisfied with what she had instead of always reaching for something more. But Evelyn had been right about one thing. Dana wouldn't tolerate a loser. The problem was, she'd never realized that I wasn't the loser in our relationship. I was the winner. I'd always been the winner. It had just taken me 20 years to prove it.